Last week's American Le Mans Series race in Texas was run in 100-degree temperatures, and it was Audi who was hottest. Frank Villa and Emanuele Pirro streaked to a win, leading an Audi sweep of the top two spots, leaving their rivals like BMW and Panoz frustrated. The GTS class was a classic duel between Viper and Corvette. Viper's undefeated streak uncharacteristically melted in the Texas heat, and Corvette scored a major shakeup of the status quo, with Ron Fellows celebrating and Olivier Beretta from Viper dealing with a rare loss. The GT class saw top contenders eliminated by mistakes, like the Dick Barber Porsches and the BMWs, leaving the Alex Job Racing Porsche standing on top of the factory favorites for a second straight race. Now, the exotic $1 million sports cars of the American Le Mans Series visit one of racing's most historic venues. The Rose City Grand Prix at Portland is next on Speed Vision. NBC Sports presents the American Le Mans Series. Today, the Rose City Grand Prix from Portland, presented by Decision Point Applications. The Portland International Raceway, 1.9 miles, 9 turns around the site for the 8th race of 12 in the 2000 American Le Mans Series season. And unlike the blistering heat conditions under which last week's Grand Prix of Texas was conducted, today overcast, not even 70 degrees, a chance of rain that could affect the running of the Rose City Grand Prix. Hi everyone, I'm Alan Bestwick. Thanks for joining us for our coverage of the American Le Mans Series. Today, the 8th race of 12 in the 2000 campaign, and as we hit this point in the season, the race for the championship is really tightening up. With 2 wins and a second-place finish in the last 3 races, Audi driver Alan McNish has closed to within 13 points of BMW's Jörg Muller in the race for the Drivers' Championship. And after their top 2-position sweep at Texas last weekend, Audi has actually taken over the lead in the Manufacturers' Championship from BMW and heads that category as we enter today's race. Our NBC road racing analyst is Bill Adam, who joins me for the call of today's race. Bill, Audi's on a roll lately. They've got the front row spots for today's race. They're the heavy favorites, but in motor racing, being the favorite assures you of absolutely nothing.
It is so true. Audi may be the favorite, but PIR is a track that historically loves gamblers. It might be called Las Vegas North, and even look at last year. That race was decided on a pit stop that, depending on your point of view, was either brilliant strategy by Panoz, who won, or bad strategy by BMW, who were beaten. And this year could be just the same way. There are 6 cars remarkably close in qualifying for this race. They all could take a real shot at the win, because if you gamble, you could conceivably run the entire race on the same set of tires. This track has low adhesion levels, low abrasive nature, and the cool temperatures, it's perfect to gamble.
Be a lot of pit strategy that will play into deciding who wins today's race. Speaking of the pits, let's go there now. Here's Steve Evans.
Thank you, Alan, and hello, everybody. You can't even say 0.2 of a second in 0.2 of a second, and that's the margin by which David Brabham and Jan Magnussen lost the pole in the powerful Panoz car you just saw to this man, Alex McNish, and his teammate in the Audi R8. There's rain in the forecast. There's teams that want it to rain to take away some advantage for you.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a few people out there, but I think in the dry conditions, if it's dry all the way through, it's going to be a hard fight. We'll see a lot of people trying things at the first corner, but we know what we've got to do. And if it is wet, we've got to play that game as well. You know, we can't control the weather. Unfortunately, we control most other things, but not the weather.
Ronaldo Capello will start this car. McNish will come in a little later on. Good luck to both of you.
Thank you very much.
And if you think it's tight on the prototypes, you ought to see what it's like in GT. Here up the road is Martin Haven. Martin?
It's very tight indeed in GT. Third on the grid, the Alex Job Racing car that has won the last 2 events. They're looking to three-peat. The Dick Barber Racing cars that lead the championship, however, are trying to hold them back. They have the first row of the GT grid. Lucas Luhr, you guys are leading the drivers' points, but you've had nothing but bad luck for the last 2 races. What are you going to do to turn it round?
Well, we can really nothing do about it. I mean, we did pole position last week, now here, and also at Mosport we are on the pole, but we had just some bad luck, and we scored not that points that we could score. And also this weekend we were dominating every session, and I just hope we have more luck here, so we can win maybe.
Well, guys, whatever bad luck charm Dick Barber Racing brought with them the last 2 times, they hope they left it at home this time, and the Portland will smile on them once more.
Here are the standings in the GT class as far as the championship is concerned. Those top 4 drivers all racing for the powerful Dick Barber Porsche team. Then David Murray and Randy Popes, the winner of the last 2 races with his teammate Bruno Lambert. Down at the head of the grid, Steve Evans is with all of the assembled dignitaries. Steve?
I am. A quick weather update. The chance of rain 40% the rest of the day. Enough talk, let's race. To do the honors, Larry Sherrick, Chief Technology Officer and founder of Decision Point Applications. Larry.
Drivers, start your engines.
We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Portland is presented by Dodge. In a perfect world, everything would be different. And brought to you by Pirelli and your local Pirelli retailer.
The field is fired, getting set to roll off on their parade and then pace lap before the start of today's Rose City Grand Prix, Portland International Raceway, the site for today's competition. Why don't we give you a little description of our course, what the drivers are facing today. Bill, take us for a spin around.
PIR really is a fun track because there are a number of good spots for passing. You can see that it's a 9-turn course plus the festival curves, which really breaks up the front straight. Now the festival curves we're going to see are the greatest spot for passing on this track, and there is going to be a ton of it today, including contact. Watch as we're down the front straight here on board Olive Garden's car. We're going to be up to 165 miles an hour, but look at way up ahead. Really heavy braking here all the way back down to first gear and 30 miles an hour. Look at how slow we're going. Around here, accelerate very gently because a lot of wheel spin possible. Back up second, third, fourth gear, and you carry forward into this long right-hand corner up ahead. Look, there's an apex here. The car wants to come out. Another apex here. It starts to get back out wide again. Drop back down to third gear, bring it in tight, and try and hold it as much as possible. This is very tough all through here. You've really got to balance the car carefully. A quick squirt of acceleration right here off this corner, and then stab the brakes one more time. Now this turn here, a critical one because it leads us on to this, what they call the back straight. It is not straight as you see. Look at this, we're accelerating around a long right-hand corner here. We're going to be up to 170 miles an hour and way up ahead, blindingly fast S's. Stab the brake and left over the curb, right over this curb. Another quick little shot in the gas and then all the way back down to third gear. Feed power on oh so carefully here because watch that wall. It tries to come out and grab you every time on this track.
A lap of the Portland International Raceway as the field begins to move from its positions on the grid. Get set for a couple of laps around before the start of today's Rose City Grand Prix. See the overcast skies last weekend in Texas. Everybody was melting before the race even started, but today they're more worried about the threat of rain. The rain tires are at the ready. Remember, in sports car racing, they don't stop if it gets wet. And if you were with us for our Mossport race back at the beginning of the month of August, rain can really create some interesting and, for those of us spectating, fun conditions should it so happen. Why don't we take a look at the starting lineup for the Rose City Grand Prix. On pole for the 4th time this season and the 4th in the last 5 races, the Audi of Alan McNish and Dindo Capello. Sharing the front row with their teammates, winners last week at Texas, Frank Bila and Emanuele Pirro. Starting 3rd, very close to the Audis in qualifying, the Paynos. David Brabham, winner of this race a year ago, to share the car with Jan Magnussen. Outside of row 2, the 2nd of the Paynos cars, American Johnny O'Connell and Japan's Hiroki Kato. Starting 5th, the Raffinelli Lola, Imo Scantarella and Didier de Rodriguez with a good qualifying run. The 6th place qualifier, disappointing effort for BMW, JJ Leto and point leader Jorg Muller finished off the podium for the first time in American Le Mans Series history for that car last week. The radar of Stefan Johansson and Guy Smith getting a little more speed as the season goes. They're qualified 7th ahead of the 2nd BMW, Bill Oberlin of California to start that car. The Cadillac is back for the 2nd time this season. Max Angelelli, the Italian, to start it in 9th position. And rounding out the top 10, it's the Intersport Team Lola, John Field and Rick Sutherland to share that machine. GTS pole winner Olivier Beretta and Carl Wendlinger in the Viper, trying to rebound after the loss at Texas a week ago. And the GT pole sitter Dirk Muller and Lucas Luhr in the Dick Barber Racing Porsche, their 6th pole of the season. The top 3 qualifiers in the GTS class, all within a 1/10 of a second. That stock-based class going to be a terrific race throughout the afternoon. Some other notables here as we look at the rest of the field. 16th position, that's the second of the Dick Barber Porsches, veteran Bob Wallach and Sasha Mawson. And then 17th, that's the Alex Job Racing Machine, Randy Pobst and Bruno Lambert. They have won the GT class the last 2 straight American Le Mans Series races.
A terrific battle and a terrific resurgence by Alex Job Racing. They were last year's GT champions, and coming into this year, it looked like the Dick Barber team was simply going to overwhelm them. Well, they have got their backs up, they've got everything working right, and now they've come on very, very strong. In fact, this morning they spent a good solid hour just practicing pit stops, showing how serious they are about winning one more time.
See the field coming down the front straightaway across the start-finish line. This is the first of the 2 pace laps they will make. And next time by, the green flag will wave. Here are our onboard cameras. This is the BMW Johannes van Overbeek to share the car with Boris Said. They start 18th overall. The Alex Job Racing Porsche, winners of the GT class the last 2 straight races. That's Florida's Randy Pobst. He'll share the car with Bruno Lambert. They start 17th. The pole-sitting car in GT, Dirk Muller on board. Lucas Luhr will share the car with him. That's the Dick Barber Racing Porsche, one of them. Here's the Raffinelli Lola, the Olive Garden machine. Italian Mimo Scattarella to share the car with Didier de Rodriguez. They start 5th on the grid. On the inside of row number 2, it is the defending winner of this race, David Brabham. Different teammate that he had last year. Jan Magnussen shares the car in 2000. They start 3rd, very close to the front row starters in qualifying. And here is the outside front row starter, looking like he's having a problem catching a gear there. That's Frank Biela.
And wheel spin, too. You see right there with cold tires.
They won at Texas last week here on NBC. Biela, along with Emanuele Pirro, to start on the outside of the front row. Cold tires, let's talk about that just for a second. Going to be a concern here in these first couple of corners, Bill.
It very much will. Last week it was sort of a luxury because even as the tires sat in the pits, it was so hot that some of the crews were actually pouring water on them to cool them down, something we've never before seen. But here the tires really are cold, and listening to these cars as they left the pit lane just prior to forming up on the grid, they were all getting a lot of wheel spin, so when they do make their pit stops, that might be something else to maybe convince them that, well, leave that set of tires on. They want to keep the good hot tires on.
There you see the Cadillac with Max Angelelli and Wayne Taylor, the drivers. Second appearance in the American Le Mans Series season for that car. They were at the Sebring race, the opener, back in March. Disappointing as you see the 2 red Vipers in the frame there. The Corvette
unbelievable.
That pulled the upset last week at Texas, not here to try and make it 2 in a row. That's kind of disappointing. This is Doc Bundy's Porsche. In road racing, there's a rule where the grid is open and you have to leave pit road by a certain time, make a reconnaissance lap and come back around. He didn't get off pit road in time. He'll start the race from the pit lane.
He will have the good view, but he is only watching the start.
Green flag. The Rose City Grand Prix is underway here in Portland. McNish takes the lead on the start. Watch the Panos try and get to the inside the red car.
Yeah, and remember about the cold tires. Look at the BMW locking up his brakes. One of the Reynard locked up his in the Panos also.
Off into the sand. Is that Lato?
That's the BMW once again on cold tires, and I think he bumped the Raffinelli car as well. That's 42. Lato, BMW is, they're both safely through, but that really could have been very dangerous, taking themselves out of position so early in the race.
Lato got stuck in that gravel trap during the practice session yesterday, noontime here in Portland, toward the end of the practice. That festival curves, we saw the 43 BMW basically throw away the chance for a good finish right at that corner just past the starting line in last year's race. So they all got through safely, more or less.
Yeah, it's going to take some time once the field settles down. Here's the formation flying by the Vipers to see if, once this settles down, we can maybe see if any of the cars... Oh, and look at that, the rear bodywork on the Raffinelli car is loose. That was one of the things that definitely happened up at the chicane. Now watch this when he gets on the front straight. Look, just... No, we're not going to see it from this view, but this is going to be so critical, too. He will have to make a pit stop. He just can't take a chance on running with that piece loose. The vacuum on the rear end of the car is going to be trying to rip that section right off, and it could easily damage the rear wing. Now he's moving to the right, trying to block a pass. He did not do it successfully.
Oberlin up to the inside to try and take the spot away from Mimo Scattarella.
You can see now, see the gap. Look at the gap in the bodywork, and the faster he goes, the more the air is going to get under that. Try and lift it off. If it does pull off at high speed, it could easily take the wing off with it. That could be terrible.
But the wing is not attached to the bodywork. So
no, it's not
a danger of the wing coming off the car by itself with that bodywork flat.
No, but the danger is the bodywork is a big enough piece that it could easily bend the wing back or bend the wing into a position where, rather than give downforce, it could easily give lift.
So on the break, it is Dindo Capello who's taken the lead in the Audi. There he is. Italian driver there out in front. The second of the Audis with Frank Biela aboard. is running right behind in second.
Yeah, this is really formation flying right now, with Audi's running 1-2 and the Panos car's running 3-4.
Here's the ride from Vila's Audi.
Just so careful out of that last corner. And the little shift lights just flashing on the dash. Way up ahead, you can see his teammate is stretching out a nice lead. And the two Panos are very close.
They're in fourth. Here's a challenge up to the inside. No. Briefly.
Just took a look.
That was O'Connell taking that was Brabham taking a look inside of O'Connell. And that big mix into the festival curves on the first lap. It was O'Connell who got the shuffle on Brabham.
You know, it always amazes me, too, is how fast these guys go through the gears. They have to get right down to first gear to get through that little chicane at 30 miles an hour. And then it's rowing through that gearbox about as fast as you can.
So after a scare into the chicane on the first lap, things are kind of okay for everybody except for the Raffinelli Lola. We're just underway with the Rose City Grand Prix at Portland. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. Back at Portland International Raceway in the Rose City Grand Prix, we have a new leader. It is the car you're riding with, the Audi R8 of Emanuele Pirro. He took the lead from his teammate, Dindo Capello, in the pole-starting Audi R8 in rather interesting fashion. There is Capello, who has dropped all the way back to 6th position now. Let's set the stage for you. Capello was the leader in the 77 car. Pirro was second in the 78. They came up on to put a lap on. Two drivers racing nose to tail for the lead in the GT class. Randy Popst in the Alex Job Racing Porsche had taken the lead away from Dirk Muller in the Dick Barber car. Right at this point on the racetrack, about 2 laps ago, they ran up on that race for the lead, tried to force some things where they just didn't have enough room. Let's take a look at it.
That is exactly what it was. It was a case of forcing. Now look at the teammates side by side here. The one car moves over, giving them a little bit of room, but look up ahead. That's the critical area, and suddenly not a chance of getting through there. Absolutely zero possibility. See, the bodywork was actually broken. It flew up. The only thing holding the bodywork on the car currently, as we're back underway, is just the aerodynamic pressure, but that piece is another. Look at that, just flexing up really high. A complete lack of thought at that point. Should never have tried that pass. It is not the fault of the GT drivers. They were well into the corner. They had a right to go in and take their line. That's the Audi driver's mistake at that point.
Now let's establish that this car here, Capello, he was the leader.
Yes.
It was the other car, the team car of Pirro, who was trying to pass him and ran up to his outside out of the festival curve. So the fault of Pirro trying to make the pass on his teammate there, or the fault of Capello trying to defend when he maybe should have let the team car go?
No, I think it really was the fault of Capello at that point, because number one thing, you never fight. Oh, and now here's an early stop. This is not a planned stop by the BMW.
This is just 11 laps into the race.
There's a lot of shaking of hands right there. I'm wondering if they're done.
They're telling him to get out. They just motioned for him to get out.
Oh, my, what a bad weekend they're having. These drivers have been complaining all weekend long about just a total lack of grip, and they said that go into a corner, they get understeer and oversteer. No grip, no nothing. In fact, they haven't had a good thing to talk about.
Martin, what's wrong?
You can see that they've had a right rear puncture. This is the least laden tyre on the car, but the carcass has ripped the car apart. You can see the broken bodywork. It's ripped off the inlet manifolds. It's also ripped off, most importantly, part of the cooling system. So this is going to be a long stop for the 43 car.
Wow.
I thought I saw the motion for all of them to get out. You see
and I do too.
Just there saying, no, there's no way we can fix this. So, wow.
I'm surprised the driver would even want to try and go back out in view of the number of problems they've had.
Speed Vision's coverage of the Rose City Grand Prix continues in just a moment. Don't go away. Back at Portland International Raceway, the Rose City Grand Prix continues for the American Le Mans Series.
On board the Olive Garden car here, these fellas, gee, they have tried so hard all year long with this privateer team, Mr. Raffinelli, the nicest bunch in the world. And there is something special about racing for a man who truly enjoys what he's doing. It gives you an added incentive to do well. And I know that the difference between racing for a factory and racing for a privateer who just simply loves it, it just gathers huge incentive inside you. You want to do well for that man. Mr. Raffinelli, such a good guy, and both of these drivers, both Mimo Scattarella and Didier de Radagast, They love racing, they love life, and they are a delight to be around, but have not been blessed with good luck this year.
Now you see that bodywork still flapping loose there. There's Mr. Raffinelli. In fact, let's go down for more on that. Steve Evans is in the Olive Garden pit. Steve?
You know, Gabriele Raffinelli is not a superstitious man by nature, but he's had so much pure bad luck. He's taken to Lucky Charms. The latest one is this piece of hemp around his neck. Gabriele, what's with the rope?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
What's with the rope around your neck you're clutching?
It's fine, it's working. One is out, we're still there.
He told me earlier it could serve as a poor man's rosary or a noose, depending on how the day goes.
There you see the Bill Auberlen BMW having been taken back into the garage area. There's Auberlen in the blue and orange helmet there, walking away from the car.
Yeah, and it looks like his crewman is directing him to go back over to the pits to make a stand-up. Now back on board the Alex Job Racing. Interesting, too. Look at this little crack forming on the windshield. I wonder if that's something that's new. We saw it earlier, just very briefly, but I hope it's not growing.
That's the GT leading car, winner of the last 2 straight races in that production-based class. And they are out in front now of the Bob Wallach, Dick Barber Racing Porsche by just about a second, just a little less than a second. Well, as a matter of fact, Wallach's closing in on him just a little bit.
And that was one of the 2 cars that the Audi came in contact with. I think it actually hit the number 5 car from Dick Barber Racing.
Right.
But the number 5 was involved in such a huge struggle with the Alex Job car. Here's a good shot of our onboard telemetry. Watch as the speed climbs and the G-forces through different sections. Now the acceleration on the right, we are showing an accelerometer, which shows you what it feels like in the car. Way up ahead, when he gets under heavy braking, as we're going by pieces of car at the side of the road there. Look at this, 1.2 G of braking, and then as we get through here, there's going to be another huge step on the brakes right here. Now on the front straight, you'll see the G, look up the acceleration again. Lateral G-force over 1 G, and the speed's climbing 110, 120. Great stuff.
Pretty fast. Pretty fast, even for the slowest of the classes here. You see the lead car coming up to lap the 2 machines. That is the race for the lead in the GT class, the 23 and 51 cars. And here comes Pirro down to the inside.
You know, that was another move that I don't understand at all by the Audi driver. He couldn't have gained a thing going out of that corner. All he did was to slow up the exit speed of the Barber car.
Let's check down on pit road. Bill Auberlen, we saw get out of his BMW a minute ago. Martin Haven is with him.
Yeah, looks like it's all over. Bill, you thought you were going to have a tough afternoon. What finished it so early for you?
Well, we're not totally done yet. They're going to try to put the car together, but a few laps earlier I radioed in, hey, I feel like a tire's gone low. It feels strange. And then all of a sudden going down the back straight, it's 6th gear wide open. Boom, the whole thing came apart, and it took the body, the airbox. I mean, it was really destructive. And luckily, the Audi was right behind me, and a few cars were behind me, and it could have been ugly, but we kept going straight. And I feel bad because the team worked so hard on this thing, and the car was running good. Everything was fine. The Audi, we were ahead of it because it had a mistake. We were banking on everybody else making little problems. And it's very unusual for a Michelin to have a problem.
Well, there you go. BMW never say die. The car should return to the racetrack, and Bill Auberlen will have to get suited up again later on, but we are under yellow at the moment.
The double yellow flag signifying full course caution. Remember when we were riding with the Alex Job car, we saw the pieces of bodywork from Auberlen's machine on the backstretch?
Yeah, there they are.
That would be the reason for the full course yellow. So the pace car is out to collect the field for the first time in the opening moments of the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series. The lead car is the Audi R8 of Emanuele Pirro. It is David Brabham in the Panos who's moved up to 2nd. Johnny O'Connell in the other Panos is 3rd. And Dindo Capello has fallen back to 5th now in what was the pole-sitting Audi.
All of the sports cars racing here today are burning exactly the same fuel. It's gasoline out of this sealed tanker. Now, it's a not outrageous 100 octane, and it's unleaded, which is unusual in American motorsports. Now, it's specially blended and formulated by Elf in France, and it contains a lot of exotic stuff, but something not so exotic, and that would be oxygen. 2.8%, and there's virtually no oxygen in pump gasoline.
and this creates a quicker, hotter burn, which results in cooler exhaust temperatures and more power. Now, could you run this fuel in your exotic street sports car? Yeah, sure you could. You'd feel a little more, but you'd hate the mileage, and you'd really hate the price. Wholesale here today, $5.50 a gallon. That's Pump Shop.
Here's the leader of the Rose City Grand Prix, Emanuele Pirro in the Audi R8. Remember, he took the lead after the confrontation between he and his teammate Dindo Capello. We are back under green, as you can see. We went to the break as we were in the full course caution, and we did have a couple of pit stops under the yellow flag. Interesting enough that some of the front runners stayed out, some of the front runners came in.
Yeah,
take a look at what happened here a minute ago while we were under the caution and away in the break.
It's all part of this Las Vegas attitude. Do you gamble? Do you play it safe? Well, the teams have split up. This is the number 1 car coming in. So Panos has decided to take a chance with 1 car. They brought this car in, they refueled it, and also the 77 Audi. Couldn't have been a more perfect time for a double yellow flag for Audi as far as they were concerned, because they were not only able to get a 4-tire stop and refuel, but even more important, look at this, a brand new front end, and they've got those winglets back on the new front end. So the balance of the car has been restored. It is every bit as fast as it should have been.
But after making the repairs, Capello has only made his way back up to the 7th position now, and he's 24 seconds behind Pirro in the team car, so he's got some ground that he is going to have to make up. Others stopping under the full course yellow. We had Angelelli in the Cadillac. We had Stefan Johansson in the Reynard. The John Field car, the Lola, was in. Also the GT car, the Dick Barber machine that was involved in the skirmish there with Pirro. And Capello in the Audi, that was Dirk Muller. He was in to get some attention. And then we had both the Vipers on pit lane as well. Now back in the race is Bill Auberlen. In the BMW, the crew's made repairs. You see that right rear corner of the car as it comes at you, all clean and nice looking again.
It looks a lot better now than it did when he entered the pits.
Unfortunately, he is running 25th position and a number of laps down, at least 10 to the race leader, Emanuele Pirro. We'll take a look at the GT class now and see how things are shaping up. That dogfight for the top spot in this division continuing on. Randy Popes continues to lead in the Alex Job Racing Porsche. You ride with him off onto the front stretch, but he is just barely ahead of Sasha Mawson and Dirk Muller in the 2 Dick Barber Racing Porsches. There you see the leader, the purple-nosed machine coming at you, and there are the other 2 Porsches right behind. With a challenge for second in the GT class, here's Muller up to the inside of Wallach.
Oh, and Muller got a little bit loose under braking there. I think Wallach was smart. He had to move over just a tiny bit. Now watch, here we come once again. These guys are so focused on what's up ahead. Look at the Panos, just trying to get by them. He's going to get by one and both cleanly. Now look at at Mimo directly behind. Let's see, is he going to get by on this little short stretch? See, it is so tough. This is a long, long right-hand corner, and sometimes when a car starts to drift out, you think he's moving over to allow you by. What often happens is they slide over and then tuck back in for the next apex, not having the time or the ability to look in and see if somebody's trying to pass. So the contact is quite frequent up there.
Now, we saw the contact earlier with Dirk Muller, but he was racing Randy Popes for the lead. That's the 5-car Muller's driving. Martin Haven can add more on that machine status for us. Martin?
Well, the yellow flag couldn't have come at a better time for the Dick Barber Racing team. They just wanted to double check that the 5-car was A-OK after being hit by the Audi, and as it turned out, it was. They're not gambling. They filled the car with fuel, but they're not going to hope for another yellow, although it's almost guaranteed we'll get more here at Portland. They will still stick on their schedule. They'll come in mid-race to change drivers.
And you look at the race for the GT class lead as Muller continues to try and dig out of the hole. This is the Shane Lewis car that is on pit road, and he has been in there for a little while. The nose looks a lot better than it did when he brought it in. Steve Evans, go ahead.
Yeah, it sure does. Apparently, Stefan Johansson in the prototype car somehow caused the dust up according to Shane Lewis, who's still in the car. Court Wagner and Shane had hoped to turn their season around here with the 21 Aston Knowles car. What a great job, though, the crew of Mike Colucci has done here. They've replaced the left side radiator. They've replaced the front bumper. Now, there's not many latches left or anything to attach to, so this baby is being taped together, and they just hope it'll last.
Not fun. Here's the lead car. The Audi R8 of Emanuele Pirro out in front of the Johnny O'Connell Patos and J.J. Lato's BMW early in the Rose City Grand Prix. Back at the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series, riding with the leader, Emanuele Pirro, the Italian in the Audi R8 that started on the outside of the front row, won last weekend at Texas Motor Speedway here on NBC. Survived a skirmish with his teammate, Dendo Capello, early in the race, and has held the lead for most of the opening laps. Now, got a couple of different things going on here that have converged to make a rather interesting situation. This is the race for third spot. J.J. Leto in the white car up ahead is the BMW, and this is David Brabham in the Panos. Brabham trying to pick his way back up through traffic. Remember, he stopped under the full course caution when Leto didn't. This is last lap. They've run up on the race for the GT class lead.
Keep in mind now, the 23 and 5, they're having the battle of themselves, but look at the Brabham is right side by side of the BMW, but which side do you choose? Well, the BMW chooses the proper side. He gets to go through, and unfortunately, they both have to go around this long outside edge. That is real bravery right there, because look at all the debris on the outer edge. Terrific piece of track here. It is so slippery, you can easily get sideways. Both these drivers doing such a wonderful job. Wow.
And the GT cars, Randy Pobst and Dirk Muller, are racing for the lead in their division. They can't either afford to lift off the gas, so it was up to the prototypes to pick their way around. So we've got nose to tail for the lead in GT, and this is nose to tail for third spot overall. The trick to this for Brabham in the red car, the Panos, is that he's got more fuel on board than Leto does in the BMW, and Leto is coming up on the point where he's going to have to pit. So Brabham doesn't really need to force the issue here, because Leto's going to be going to pit lane sometime soon.
Well, the one thing, if he wants to get by, it does make it safer. For Leto to make a mistake, of course, Brabham would get caught up in it right away. Now on board Olive Garden, they too are continuing to have a great run. They're in 5th place right now, Milo Scatarella, Didier Radicus. The bodywork still has not fallen off this car, much to everyone's, I think, great relief. And so maybe Mr. Raffinelli rubbing that rope around his neck is really working good magic for him.
See at the left around there, that was from the very first corner where he's coming up on now, the festival curves, when there was body contact there and the jam up into the first turn. Here's on board the GT leader, Randy Pobst.
Boy, and Randy really working the wheeler. You could hear the tires squealing there for a moment, so he must have got a little bit loose under braking. Just had to use some corrective action, but driving really nice. Randy is just a fine, fine driver, and he got out of that race. In fact,
he just lost the spot.
That's why he got a little bit sideways. He tried to go deep, or maybe the 5 car got underneath him while he was sideways. Well, they have swapped positions now.
Maybe we were riding with him when the mistake happened, but Dirk Muller has gone by, reassumed the lead in the Dick Barber Racing Porsche, the number 5 car. Remember, he got punted off by Capello in the Audi earlier in the race. Here's the pass for the GT class lead.
Yeah, look at Randy going in the corner. You can see the car, it does get loose. He is not able to get back on the throttle, whereas the number 5 car coming out of the front straight was able to pick up throttle a lot earlier. That just gave him that shot off the corner.
So Dirk Muller goes back into the lead in the GT class. Now Randy Pobst has to come from behind as he chases a 3rd straight win for that class after taking the victories at Mosport and Texas. Riding with him here down the backstretch. Notice I don't call it a back straight, because it's not straight at all.
Yeah, it's amazing. This long right-hand corner. Now watch on board the telemetry. This is good fun to see. Watch the speeds on the left-hand side of your screen. See how slow he gets you through this corner? Down to 62, and then watch the acceleration. Yeah, I'm sorry about this little bit of breakup right here, but there's the 43 cars into the pits now.
Remember, that car had a puncture in the right rear tire that ripped the back bodywork off and some of the cooling system. Spent time behind the wall. Now Jean-Marc Gounon is getting aboard. After Bill Oberlin drove the car in the first part of the race, they are well down. 24th position and about 17 laps down to the race leader.
Yeah, now Bill had complained earlier about a puncture, feeling something loose, and well, we're back up with the Panos now, so maybe there's still something wrong with that rear suspension.
Great run for Johnny O'Connell in the second of the Panos cars. This is a driving duo, O'Connell and his teammate Hiroki Kato, that are still looking for their first podium finish of the season, their first top 3 run of the year.
Yeah, so disappointing. I mean, Johnny had so many good runs last year. They were just a really formidable team, and I think for Hiroki Kato to learn this car and to get adequate time in it, that has been the difficulty this year, but Johnny is a very talented young driver.
O'Connell living now in North Georgia. He's from the western United States originally. The Panos team operating out of the North Georgia area, so he's relocated there. And you see him behind the wheel of that so wild-looking Panos LMP car as he runs in second spot, 11 seconds behind leader Emanuele Pirro. Let's take a break. We'll come back with more of the Rose City Grand Prix in a minute on Speed Vision.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Portland is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and by Uniroyal Tires, tried and true.
Back at Portland and back under the green flag. The lead car is the red one back of your frame. The two cars you're seeing heading into the festival curves. Emanuele Puro in the 78 car was the leader until a moment ago. The 43 many laps down, that Jean-Marc Gounon. We've had well, we've got a whole list of things we have to go back over for you. Here's a challenge for the lead. Up to the inside, that's Didier Dorodegas trying to force his way up underneath Johnny O'Connell in the Panos.
Oh, and a successful move, too. That was a terrific, very aggressive move, but he was able to pull it off. Excellent clean pass.
Now, the pass for the lead, Dorodegas was not the leader. It's the Audi there with the yellow wing. That is Alan McNish, the Scotsman, now back on board that car. He followed Dorodegas through into the lead around the Panos. All right, let's try and catch a breath here and try and reset some of this and figure out how we got this way. We got under a full course caution just a minute ago after an incident with the outside wall. Doc Bundy hit the wall on the backstretch. Here's a look at a couple of things that set us up for this. This is Dirk Muller in the Dick Barber Lead GT Porsche.
And that quickly, things can happen in this race. Now, the Viper was under acceleration, had to back out of it just for a moment. Muller, meanwhile, could not take any evasive action, and on the back straight, Doc Bundy had a hard impact in the guardrail. Look, you can see both wheels on the side of the car. Doc struggles out of the car with some assistance. He is obviously hurting.
So Bundy, fortunately, walking away from the car, but Dirk Muller was leading GT up until a minute ago. Now he's with Martin Haven behind the wall.
Dirk, you've been battling for the GT class win here again with Dick Barber Racing, but it just seems that the other cars can't stop hitting you.
I don't know what's going on at the moment. Bad luck since I don't know when. And first I got hit in the first part of the race by a prototype, and unfortunately I don't know what he would do at that part, because there was no way to pass me at that point. Okay, I spun in the crest, and unfortunately I got really lucky because the damage on the car was nearly okay. I got bad reparations, then the Fukushima actually helped us. We got back in the race, I got back in the lead from the back of the field, and we're controlling, the lead. And unfortunately, I saw the Raffaelli car and the Viper car behind me. I let them pass because there was no way for me, to race against them. And then I don't know, maybe Raffaelli missed his gear. I saw just smoke coming out from the Viper. I was braking her. The Viper bumped into the Raffaelli car, and I bumped into the Viper. I'm so disappointed, I tell you, because what shall I do at that point? I mean, such bad luck again. I'm really, really disappointed. I feel sorry for the team.
Well, you know what? I think he gets an award for the longest excuse I have ever heard.
Oh, come on now. He's got a point. And look at this dogfight. First, second, and third. Need to kind of establish that on the pit stops under the full course caution, most of the driver changes have taken place. So it is McNish aboard the 77 that's now come back from the early spin into the lead. Running in second spot is the David Brabham Panos, the red car there. The white BMW is not on the lead lap. It spent many laps behind the wall getting repairs after a tire exploded earlier. There's McNish, the leader. Second is Brabham in the Panos. He's still on board the car, has not yet given it up to his teammate. Third is the other Panos. That's Johnny O'Connell in the number 2 car. Those are the top 3. And then the white car, the second one of the white cars there, just right of your screen. That is the other BMW car.
God, look at this battle, too. He is right alongside. And this is the BMW that apparently had all of these problems throughout practice. They had no grip, no acceleration, no brakes, no lunge, no nothing. But suddenly the car is back up fighting with this Panos.
Let's get out of the Panos pit. Steve Evans.
Fascinating pit strategy in the Panos operation. David Brabham caught the first double yellow, came in for what amounts to free fuel. They left Johnny O'Connell out on the racetrack for track position. When we had a second yellow, Brabham caught that one as well. Came in for free fuel and tires. They did not plan to put tires on under green, but they did. So they've got 2 cars here, both running different strategies. And let's remember, they stole this race with pit action a year ago. Martin Haven?
Well, the 43 BMW looks like it's out of the race. They've been behind the wall and repaired the rear end of the car. When they came in under the yellow, Bill Overland got out and handed over to Jean-Marc Gounon. They checked the back end of the car. Bill says it feels funny. They can't really see what's wrong with it. Now, normally you might not want to race a car like that. Bill stood out of the car after he did the minimum number of laps to count for starters points. Now they want John Mark to get minimum number of laps in to count for starters points. After that, they may even take the car back off the racetrack.
While they're trying to struggle and just about shut the second place car off at the festival curves, the other BMW back in the picture, that's now Jörg Muller, and he is up into the 4th spot and is pressuring Johnny O'Connell in the red and black Patos there for 3rd.
I thought Gunan was going to get maximum number of rude gestures coming out of that number 1 Panos car because he got shut off a bunch of times by Gunan.
David Brabham we're talking about in the 2nd place Panos, who is now 3.9 seconds behind Alan McNish in the Audi 77 car. What a turn of events for the Audi. The car off the course, trying to force a pass earlier with Dindo Capello on board, bumps the Dirk Muller Porsche, the GT car, gets off the course, has to come to pit road, gets a break to fix the bodywork. Now they come steaming back through, and they wind up in the lead. Hard to figure. Here they come into the festival corners. Let's see how they handle the traffic. The Olive Garden cars not on the lead lap. That's 3rd and 4th stacked up behind him. And 3rd and 4th will stay stacked up behind Rodriguez, who's running in the 8th position now, 1 lap down. We'll be right back with more of our coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Portland on Speed Vision. Welcome back to our coverage on Speed Vision of the American Le Mans Series Rose City Grand Prix from Portland. And there was the car that was the leader earlier in the day in GT, winner of the last 2 straight races, the Randy Popes Bruno Lambert car. Lambert aboard now. The off-course excursion has dropped them back to now 3rd position in the GT class, as the Boris said, Johannes van Overbeek. The BMW M3 has gone past them into the number 2 spot in class.
And we have not seen very many bright spots for Tom Milner's team this year. They really, other than the Sears Point race when they had the victory out there, but the Porsche, the GT3R, have just run off and hidden.
And even the Sears Point win turned out to be a problem because they got hung up in post-race tech and had the win taken away. So the BMW up to 2nd spot now in the GT class. Here's your race leader, Alan McNish. 2 wins in the last 3 races, and probably would have won Texas too if they hadn't had the radio communication problem that forced them to miss an opportunity to top off the fuel tank under the yellow flag. Had to make the stop late under the green flag, wound up finishing in 2nd. Now the car running behind them on the racetrack is the team car, the 78 machine of Emanuele Pirro and Frank Bila. Last time those 2 cars got near each other on the racetrack, there's the Cadillac. That is not in the mix here of what we're discussing, but that's Wayne Taylor, 6th overall in the Caddy. But the last time the 2 Audis got close to each other was in the opening laps of the race. It was back at lap number 7. Things didn't work out so well for the 77 car. That was Capello on board at the time. Now here's the pass. We'll see if there's any
this time it's quite different.
Between them this time.
The 78 car just simply moves over and says, please,
have
here
it your way. There you go. And if you weren't with us earlier in our broadcast when the 2 got together earlier in the event, the 77 car went spinning off with Capello on board. They fell way back, had to stop to repair some damaged front bodywork. We're back at about 7th, 8th position, and have managed to charge their way back up into the lead, while this car got caught by a full course caution that came out just after it pitted. And that has put them in the position now to be lapped by the race leader. Martin Havens down in the Audi pit. Martin?
You're right, the 78 car caught a really bad break with their fuel window and their tyre change. The 77 car has made 2 yellow flag pit stops, and in between times they were running on brand new rubber while everybody else was in half a session old rubber. That's why the 77 car has gone leaping up the order. The 78 car has dropped right back.
Now McNish running about the fastest laps on the racetrack. He's circuiting this course in just over 1 minute and 5 seconds. Everybody else is in the higher minute 5 to minute 6 segments as far as their lap times are concerned. Here's the 4th place car, Jörg Muller, the BMW.
It's quite amazing, and I don't know why, but it always seems to happen out here every year at Portland that the pit stops become so important. And that's a very good example, the 2 Audis, that one that made the benefit by having the luck of the right timing on their stop, one that didn't. And in fact, the other car that didn't too is the Scatarella Doradigas car. They had just made their green flag stop when the yellow flag came out. They've gone from being in contention to absolutely nowhere. They're currently way back in 7th place. only because they didn't get the brake on the pit stop. I mean, it's just amazing. Every year it happens.
Miller had to jump on the brakes to keep from running into the slower GT car. Cost him a little bit of ground to O'Connell there in the Panos as they continue their race for third position. Speed Vision's coverage of the Rose City Grand Prix continues in just a moment. Don't go away.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Portland is brought to you by Audi and by Yokohama Tire Corporation. Turn on technology with Yokohama Tires.
You're looking at the lead car, Alan McNish from Dumfries, Scotland, driving the Audi R8 that's had a rather adventurous day. Started on pole, got knocked off course by its teammate earlier, and then came rallying back through the field after repairs to take the lead. And now, boy, McNish has opened up a huge advantage. He's out in front by what was 33 seconds over the second place car, though that has just grown as the second place car has just been on pit road.
Alan's driving continues to be so impressive. He's going at a very quick pace, but all of the passes that he's doing right now, right there, a good example. He's just showing a little bit of patience at each of the dangerous spots. So he is making his passes, getting a maximum amount of safety and risking his car as little as possible to extend this lead.
Second place car was David Brabham in the Panos machine, but that car has just been on pit road for a green flag stop. Jan Magnussen has gotten behind the wheel and taken over for that one, and it has just come back on track, and it is a it's almost, we'll have to check the interval here when he comes back around to the start-finish line in a minute. There's Magnussen, the driver from Denmark, behind the wheel now, having taken over. They did change tires on the pit stop, but a curious situation on the team car. The other Panos machine, when Johnny O'Connell brought it in a minute ago for service, gave up the seat to Hiroki Kato. No tires. Let's go down to the Panos pit. Steve Evans.
There you see David Brabham. He just was conferring with the Michelin engineer. They did not want to change tires, but apparently had a flat spot on one. There's a lot of locking up of brakes going on out there, and that potentially put a flat stop on the tire and create a vibration. Jan Magnussen is now in for David Brabham. Interesting on the number 2 Panos. Hiroki Kato is in that car now. They are going to, as Bill Adams said at the top of the show, they're going to gamble, Bill. No tires are going to run on the same 4 Michelins they started on.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, when you get the right temperatures like we have today, they're cool, they're very pleasant, and this track, which has such good pavement for getting excellent tire wear, you sometimes can gamble, and we've seen it in the past, we're seeing it today. This makes for good racing.
Now, the car that has just been taken over by Jan Magnussen is a lap and a half behind the leader, McNish. Now, McNish is going to have to come down pit road for a stop for a little while, so that'll take about a lap away, depending on how much they spend as far as whether they take tires or not. So he's going to be about a half a minute behind when the cycle of pit stop shuffles back out. Here is the GTS class leader. Haven't really talked about them all race long. It is Carl Wendlinger in the Dodge Viper, and look at the 2 Vipers there. That's Tommy Archer behind in the second of the Vipers, both of them with pretty scarred up race cars.
Yeah, is that the ultimate show of teamwork there, that you both have holes punched in exactly the same area of your race car? Just amazing. So they have a little aerodynamic disadvantage, but and there it is, 78 car just leaving the pits. That's the second Audi, which has performed well, but as we spoke to you earlier, they just haven't had the benefit of having their pit stops made at the right time.
Frank Biela on board now. That car was leading with his teammate driving earlier in the race. Emanuele Pirro came down pit road under the green. Caution came out a minute later, put him a lap down. Let's go to Martin Haven.
Well, the 78 car has made its second green flag pit stop of the race, and that's why they're a lap down on their teammates who took their major fuel on yellow flag pit stops. Alan McNish has been setting blindingly fast times. I just spoke to his teammate Dindo Capello. Dindo will not drive the leading Audi again, and he believes, even though the number 1 Panos, their closest threat, has taken tyres on at this stop, that the 77 car will not. Now, that was 5 minutes ago before the Panos stopped. The Audi team have seen it taken on fresh rubber, so they may think that again.
GT class leader you're looking at there. Dick Barber racing Porsche. Sasha Mawson started the car. Bob Wallach is driving it now. See 11th overall, first in class. Their advantage on the second place car in GT is some 12.5 seconds. That is Boris Said driving the Milner Racing, the prototype racing BMW M3. That is that distance behind the class leader. Here is Boris, subbing this weekend for Hans Stuck, the veteran who has apparently discovered that he got injured in the most board race.
Yeah, this is the most bizarre story, that he said somehow he damaged his back during the race, but I don't know. Stuckey's an old teammate, and I know that he just got married last year and has this beautiful young blonde wife, and well, you decide.
You're not suggesting.
I'm not suggesting a thing.
Well, see, I'm going to disagree with you, because I was talking with some of the BMW people earlier in the weekend on Friday when they had the open test day here, and they said within the first half an hour of cars being on the racetrack, Boris had emailed them here at the racetrack 3 times. What's happening, what's happening, what's happening. He wanted to be here.
Boris will drive just about anything, and does drive just about anything.
What did I say, Boris? It was Hans that did the email.
Oh, Hans wanted to come and drive.
Yeah, Hans did the emails, wanting to know what was going on. So he wanted to be here. And you're right, Boris will drive anything. He was a pole winner and 5th place finisher here at Portland in a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race a year ago in '99. So he's running 2nd in GT now in the BMW behind Bob Wallach in the Porsche. And there's the leader, Alan McNish, winner of 2 of the last 3 races in the American Le Mans Series in the Audi. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. Back at Portland International Raceway, the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series. You're looking at the leader, Alan McNish, who has just gotten around the 2nd place car, Jörg Muller, that white BMW, to put 2nd place a lap down.
It's amazing.
Wow. That Audi was off the track with damaged bodywork earlier in the event, nearly a full lap down himself, and now he's just put the field a lap down.
It is a mark of an excellent team in every respect. And not only is Alan just a supremely talented driver, but the fact that the crew can put him back into the position, and they've got the car so well set up that they rejoin and seemingly did not have a problem. That's very, very impressive, and a whole team effort.
The bodywork punched out after an altercation when the 2 Team Audis racing for the lead tangled with one of the lap cars. I shouldn't say lap car, it was the GT car of Dirk Muller, the Dick Barber Porsche that was racing for the lead in class. He didn't necessarily have any room to give them. He wasn't in the wrong by any means.
No, not at all.
But they tangled, punched the left front corner of the bodywork out, but before they got lapped, caught a full course caution, were able to come in, change the bodywork on the nose of the car, get some new tires on it to replace the ones they'd flat spotted, and now have roared back through the field and taken a full lap lead on 2nd place, Jörg Muller in the BMW. Wow.
It's almost like an Alan McNish driving clinic today. He is going around this track so quickly and so effortlessly, and it's not all because of the car. Granted, the car is excellent. He has told us that, but he is just superior. He's really very good.
5th place car, the Cadillac, Wayne Taylor on board now. Max Angelelli started the machine. Cadillac, 2nd appearance in the American Le Mans Series for 2000. Ran the 12 Hours of Sebring to open the campaign back in March. Then concentrated their efforts on the Le Mans 24-hour race. Understand we're going to see this car a couple of more times before the end of the season. Here's Alan McNish coming up on the back of Hiroki Kato in the number 2 Patos. That's the 6th place car, trying to put him what would be 2 laps down.
And Kato on new tires, remember, McNish on old tires. Under braking here, and Alan just cleanly goes down the inside. We haven't seen a wisp of smoke come off the tires under braking areas, whereas the BMWs, by comparison, on a number of occasions have shown us huge bursts of smoke off the rear tires as they get under braking for that chicane. They don't seem to be as well balanced a car as the Audi is. The Audi just does everything well.
There you look at McNish's lap times there. He's just been fast. Now we're expecting them to pit any time now for what would be their final service of the race. We expect we'll see McNish in at some point. It's been about right. He should be coming in any time now. McNish has been an interesting case study this year. He's been so hot of late in the American Le Mans Series, and the Sports Car Racing magazine that covers this circuit regularly put a cover up that looked like this: Is McNish the best ever? His decision to join the Audi team, in hindsight, naturally a pretty good one, but he was pretty unsure about it at the time.
I was speaking to one of the engineers from Yoast when I was trying to decide what to do. And he said, hold on a second, I've got Reinhold, he wants to have a word with you. And Reinhold took the telephone, he said, just sign the contract, and gave the phone back. And they wanted it, they knew what they wanted to do and how to do it. And I feel that for me, it's also the best situation, because I've fitted in very well and it's very comfortable. Plus the car isn't too bad.
Not too bad at all. After starting the year with a 1-2 sweep at the 12 Hours of Sebring, the Audi team in June pulled off the amazing feat of sweeping the top 3 spots in the pinnacle of sports car racing, the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
My immediate personal goal is to try and win this coming race. And then it continues to Road Atlanta to try and win that one. And my philosophy is quite simple. If you win enough races, you win the championship. And if you don't win the races, you don't win the championship. And so I take it stage by stage. Long-term side, I think everybody within the team would be very, very happy if the decision was made in about a month's time for Audi to continue in the American Le Mans Championship. They are looking at it and they're going to evaluate it as they always do every year. They never make more than a one-year plan. And so it's just coming up for renewal, but I think they're very impressed with what they've seen so far. And so for a dipping the toe in the water point of view, then I think it's been a very worthwhile exercise.
And there's McNish, the leader on pit road. Martin Haven.
Well, I told you a moment or two ago that Audi had not planned to change the tyres on this car for Alan's final stint until they saw that Brabham's car had done so, the #1 Paynos that currently lies second. So we wait and see. The fuel must be done separately to any other work on the car under Le Mans rules. But no, they wave away the tyre men. Alan is happy with his brother, and that may seal the race for him.
Yeah. I think it is, and the fact that you've got somebody as talented as Alan McNish behind the wheel right now, that even if the rubber is not perfect, he's continuing to drive so smoothly and use this wonderful God-given ability. I mean, there's racers and there's racers, but like there's writers of sorts. You've got Mark Twain, you got Shania Twain, and boy, there's a big difference.
Wow, Mark Twain and Shania Twain. That's pretty good, Adam. McNish is back on course after what should be his final pit stop of the Road City Grand Prix. We'll set the standings for you in a moment. We'll come right back to Portland.
Folks, us educated race fans know that tyres are more than just round and black. But when you're talking about a slick racing tyre, how do you know when there's life left in it? Your road tyre probably looks much like this. Tread blocks, grooves. When there's no difference between the two, time to get rid of it. But when it starts out as smooth as a slick racing tyre, there's only one sure way of knowing how much life is left in it. You cut a groove through the tread, and then you can accurately measure right away across the width of the tyre how much life is left in it. And there's more than that, because if you cut another groove through the tyre, you can dig into the carcass and potential problems can be spotted before they arise.
Back at the Road City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series, down to the final 35 minutes of competition, and you were looking at coming to pit road, the third place car. That is Guy Smith, the Englishman on board, the car that he shares with Stefan Johansson, the Reynard machine. They've been fairly sporty this weekend, probably a little more competitive than they have for most of the season.
Definitely. This has been the run of the year for this entire team. They have been very fast today and are having a great battle right now.
Let's go to Steve Evans.
They are indeed. They're slowly but surely learning how to run this Judd motor and also this Reynard chassis, and I think they're going to be thrilled with the results today in Portland. Now, this is going to cost them that third place spot. They're going to slide back probably to 4th or 5th. Guy Smith of Hull, England stays in the car. As Martin explained earlier, you can't do anything while you're fueling. Some work being done at the very front of the car. The engine already refired. It appears that you get a better angle on this than I can, but trying to get some debris, I believe, out of there. Yep, exactly what it was. A blockage of the radiator. Gone in 60 seconds.
Yeah, you need to get some of the tire debris and so on out of those openings there where the air flows through into the radiators and maybe some of the brake cooling and that kind of thing, or you're going to have a problem here in these final 35 minutes.
Exactly. That's one of the very few Reynard chassis that's around this year. That's a manufacturer that a lot of people, and myself included, thought was going to come out this year and really have a terrifically competitive race car. They have done so well in every other series they've run, but for some reason the Sports Car Challenge has just been overwhelming for them, and this team has worked so hard to make competitive. They're finally getting good results today.
Race for 4th and 5th you're watching. Hiroki Kato in the number 2 Paynos machine, and right behind him in 5th position is Frank Biela in the number 78 Audi. Now, theoretically, based on speed that we've seen the last several weeks, this should be no contest, but so far, Kato's been able to hold him off.
Yeah, and right now, as it sits, The Panos is about 45 odd seconds behind, so you could bet what he's praying for is a yellow flag situation. If a pace car were to come out, whole new race. But then even then, with McNish in the lead, I don't think Alan's going to worry about it, seeing the Panos on his tail, because he has been able to...
Out! Ooh, close call there with Boris Said in the BMW. Wow. Look at Cato. Which way is he going to go?
Yeah, he didn't know it, and he was very smart there, just being patient for a few minutes to give himself just a little bit of time to let Boris choose the side of the track. I think Boris was showing some good, smart driving right there, too, because he obviously had looked at his mirror, had decided to let these guys choose a side, and when they waited, he made the proper move.
The 78 Audi is the car that won the Grand Prix of Texas. You saw last Sunday on NBC. Frank Biela aboard that machine now, the yellow helmeted driver of the pair. Car that spent a good part of the first hour of this race in the lead. So far, she's not been able to make the move around Cato and the Panos.
And race cars really don't get much different from these two here. Almost like a front engine race car, the Panos, and the rear engine twin turbo Audi. So just different ideas on how to build the proper race car, and this year it looks like Audi is showing the world.
Here he comes down to the inside now with a quick look.
Don't think so.
Not this time. So Cato is able to hang on to the number 4 position, and Biela stays back in 5th in the Audi. Speaking of the name Panos, Don Panos, the founder of the American Le Mans Series, talked with our Steve Evans earlier in the weekend about where the series stands for 2001.
There will be the 2 series, the American Championship and the European Championship. And we have pretty well agreed 6 dates with NBC. So, you know, that's very good.
Can you be specific on some venues overseas?
Well, I can tell you the ones that are in the final mix right now. Certainly Monza, Jarama, Silverstone, Spa, Zandvoort, Brno. And from that, there will be 5 races from that list. I've probably missed one that's in the mix. And then, of course, we have 2 races in the Pacific Basin next year. The Adelaide race moves the first week in December, and the Malaysian race moves to the 1st of November.
The prototypes, what do you see happening there?
Well, there's a question mark about BMW, and everybody talks about that, but Audi's committed. Bentley's building a new car. They've already been testing it. Aston Martin's coming with a new car. Callaway is coming with a new car. Seline has announced a new car. Chrysler's doing a deal with Dallara. So when you look at all of that, you see that the series is doing quite well.
Anything else you'd like for race fans to know about the American Le Mans Series?
Well, I would just like to tell them thank you all very much, because we've been putting on a show and we've been trying to bring you the best racing that we can. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it goes with the territory of Le Mans that we have multiple drivers. And it's hard to get all the driver focus that we'd like to see, but there are some phenomenal drivers in this. And I think as the fans start to get more familiar with this format and they see this, we're really going to create more and more interest.
Don Panos, founder of the American Le Mans Series, here at Portland with us as we work at the 8th race of 12 in 2000. And there's the lead car right now, Alan McNish, trying to close on the championship lead for the 2000 American Le Mans Series crowd. McNish continuing to have a massive advantage over Jan Magnussen in the Panos. It is by a bunch as his lead is commanding here as we get down to the final 30 minutes of the race. Speed Vision's coverage of the Rose City Grand Prix continues in just a moment. Don't go away. Talking about new things for 2001, this was a couple of weeks ago in Monterey, California, the unveiling of a new Seline street machine that's going to become a GTS race car.
Oh man, it's going to become my heartthrob too. This is a car that he is calling the Seline S7. It is a 7-liter, 427 cubic inch powered car, and it will be making its debut here in the series, running GTS class next year. So this will be a very exciting car to look at. In fact, if you want to look at one, just come to my driveway.
Yeah. Street version of that puppy right there, $300,000.
Can Regis Philbin Colby, perhaps?
Yeah, you might need that.
Yeah, I definitely would need it, but boy, that is a beautiful car.
There's the lead car in the Rose City Grand Prix, the Audi R8. Pretty beautiful car all on its own. The Scotsman Alan McNish behind the wheel, trying to get his 3rd win in the last 4 races. The only reason they're not going for 4 straight is because of a radio communication in the blistering heat at Texas last weekend that forced them to miss an opportunity to pit under the caution flag. Here's Tommy Archer, who is behind the wheel of the second-place GTS car. You see the big damage there on the nose of the Dodge Viper. Let's go down to the pits in Martin Haven.
David Donahue, we thought it might rain here this afternoon. Looks like the Vipers have been through a hailstorm or maybe a shower of meteorites. What happened to your car?
Tommy got rear-ended as well as he crunched someone from in front of him. He rear-ended someone else. It's caused quite a lot of damage. The rear diffuser's fallen off, and that kills all our rear downforce. It's a bit of a handful, but we're pretty much guaranteed a second place at the moment, so there's no reason to push super hard. On top of it all, he punctured the radiator a bit, and we're losing coolant. So the guys are making routine stops based on the telemetry as to how much coolant we're losing and when to stop.
So I guess you must be pretty happy that there's no Corvettes here this weekend.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, they always make the show more interesting, and they give us something to race against and make a win much more rewarding, for sure. But Viper Team Orca does a good job too, and we think we can race with them this weekend. Maybe not the 92 car, but we'll see next time.
Well, these guys and the Corvettes may well see a very different GTS field next year when the mid-engine Seline arrives. That could upset everybody's apple cart.
David Donahue is the son, of course, of the late Mark Donahue, one of the greatest American racers, certainly sports car racers in history. And there's a book about to come out about Mark Donahue that David is involved in the production of. He was telling us about it here this weekend at Portland. Said to look for it over the next couple of months, and says it's got a lot of great pictures. If you're a fan of Mark Donahue's or the history of sports car racing, I think this is going to be a pretty fun piece to have a look at.
Oh, I can remember as a boy going and watching his dad race, and what a hero. He was just a remarkable driver. I like his attitude too, the fact that when Martin asked about aren't you glad the Corvette's here, and he said, well, not really, but I mean, he likes the competition too, and I think the competition of the Corvette having won the Dallas race, and of course the Seline coming in next year, they have big targets to shoot for to try and knock off these GTS Vipers because they are terrific cars.
5th place car, Frank Biela, on board with him now as he comes down to the start-finish line. Actually, I think he's just moved up to 4th spot, having just overtaken Hiroki Kato in the Paytos. We saw these drivers racing for positions a minute ago. This is last lap by, coming down to the festival curves, the chicane at the end of the front stretch.
And one of those areas too where they have been so strong under braking right here. It's absolutely straight line. Kato tries to intimidate him a little bit.
Ooh, contact there.
Even going,
Hello. Wow. Where did that come from?
Sneaking by that.
That is Doug Hebenthal, Seattle area driver, and one of the Alex Job racing Porsches that was backwards. I wonder if the caution flag was out.
Oh, man.
I'd love to get another look at that replay just for a second and see if the yellow was waving when they came into the corner, because if it was, then he's got some rules issues with that pass. If it wasn't, then he's good.
Hard to say it. Once you're alongside, if the yellow starts waving, then who's going to say who's leading at that point? I mean, it's that's a situation, though, just remarkable luck.
Let's see if we can't take another quick look at that and just watch the very left of your screen. The flag marshals stand there and see if the yellow flag was waving at that point. Here we go. Watch the left of your screen here. Start-finish line. Now the flag marshal stand will come in here on the left side of the screen as they come into the corner and see if we see a yellow flag waving there.
And the actual area where the pass will take place, where the 3 cars are going to be almost side by side, is very narrow. So
now see, the yellow's just coming out there. Okay.
That's right. So he was alongside it. I don't think that's a case of a penalty, but right there, boy, that's a narrow piece of track. So if Kato had been a little bit tighter on him, it could easily have been a nose-to-nose situation between the Audi and the Porsche.
We'll be right back with more of our coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Portland on Speed Vision. Today's Portland International Raceway is a pretty stark contrast from what it was a half-century ago. 1942, it was a booming port town called Vanport, home to about 40,000 residents. But on May 30th, 1948, the city was submerged under 15 feet of water. Melting snow and heavy rains made the Columbia River rise beyond levee control. Surging waves added to the damage. The entire town was wiped out. Thousands left homeless after the water receded. Vanport was never rebuilt. The city of Portland kept the land as a park for many years. It was 1961 when it was transformed into the facility we know today as Portland International Raceway. And at Portland International Raceway today, it is the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series. Now 19 minutes of racing left to go in this one. And it is the Audi R8 of Alan McNish that has a pretty significant lead over Jan Magnussen and the Panos, who run second. This is on board the BMW M3 of Boris Sed, running 12th overall, second in the GT class. There's Boris, Carlsbad, California driver. You want to read a racing resume that's basically been there, driven that. Here's the one you want to read.
Been there, hit that.
Well, that too. And he'll admit that. Boris is a lot of fun.
He is great.
Boris has driven everything from NASCAR machines to European road racing in sedans. He's run the 24 hours of Spa. I believe he won that race.
Trans Am cars.
Yeah, you name it.
Everything under the sun.
He's run it. Chances are he's won in it as well. Subbing for Hanstook here this weekend. And again, second in class right now for the BMW behind the Bob Wallach, Sasha Mawson, Dick Barber Racing Porsche. Pretty good bit behind him too. 31 seconds is the deficit from first to second in the GT class.
Although it finally gives the Miller team something to smile about. At least they're running in second. That's a podium finish. And they have had such a huge battle against these Porsches all season long.
Alan McNish is 13 points behind Jörg Muller, the BMW driver, in the chase for the American Le Mans Series Championship, leaving you to wonder what if a couple of races earlier this year when the Audi team ran the 99 version of their car and basically didn't get the kind of results that they've had the rest of the season with this 2000 version of the machine. What if they'd run the 2000 car at Charlotte? And what if they'd run it at Silverstone back in May? Would he already be leading the championship?
Based on what we're watching and have been watching, gee, it's such a strong performance. Where is the flaw? They don't seem to have one.
And for the BMW team, for them to be chasing this Audi so much it's beyond frustration. In fact, that's a quote from J.J. Lato. Talk with him, driver who was so dominant in this division a year ago. He said they're beyond frustration this year. They just don't know what to do to their car to get it to behave the way that it did a year ago, where they were the dominant player in this division.
And yet they still run in third place right now. This car may not be in competition for running in the lead at this particular moment, but with a couple of tiny breaks, they still are in a position where they could steal a win away.
Looking at a pretty good race for 5th and 6th position, as Guy Smith in the Reynard there, just passing Hiroki Kato in the Panos. So the Panos falling back a spot as we get down to the final moments of this one. Let's go down to pit road and talk with the man who is the starting driver in the 2nd place running machine. Steve?
Well, David Brabham up here hoping something happens to that awful Audi. Your pit strategy was just perfect. You caught 2 pace car yellows, and they made one mistake, you'd have got them.
Yeah, unfortunately we got caught out on that that second yellow, so it's been a fight ever since that, really. And you know, the car's running pretty strong. Michelin tires are performing really strongly here. We thought that midweek that we'd struggle a little bit with rear grip because of the way the car was handling, but the guys did a great job, and you know, the car's handling pretty well.
Well, let's remember what Yogi said, guys, huh?
It ain't over.
Yes, sir.
Till the fat lady sings.
Yeah, and she's not even warming up yet. Got about 16 minutes of racing left in the Rose City Grand Prix. 16 minutes for Alan McNish to keep it on the track. We'll be right back with more of our coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Portland on Speed Vision.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Portland is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
The Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series winding down. 13 minutes of competition left. You're looking at the GT class car that has won the last 2 straight races. Lambert and Randy Pope sharing the driving for Alex Job Racing. They won at Mosport. They won at Texas. They were leading earlier. They're not going to win here at Portland.
It doesn't look like it unless something really takes place up ahead. You can see that the little crack on the windshield on the right-hand side of your screen has not grown, so that's something that's been there for a long time. But other than that, they just have not been in contention other than the opening few laps, as you just spoke of.
Running a lap behind the GT class leader, Bob Wallach, in the Dick Barber Racing Porsche. Had better hopes for that this weekend here, but just the handling seemed to deteriorate. When Popst was leading at one point, Dirk Muller in the other Dick Barber Porsche was up behind him, and we were on board with Popst when the car got sideways on him. He had to kind of chase it around the racetrack. That's when he lost the class lead, and from there it's just kind of dwindled backwards to the point that they're now a lap down in class, running third in the GT division and 14th overall here in the standings of this race. Let's go down to the Alex Job Racing pit. Martin Haven is there with Alex Job.
Alex Job keeping track of the time of his car and all his rivals. Alex, you just didn't seem to be able to catch a break. The car looked good early on. What went wrong for you?
Well, the car was doing really, really good. Randy was doing a fantastic job. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a slow stop, so we got behind the 51 car getting out of the pits. And then Bruno got hit by one of the Panoses. That put us behind. Then he spun later on and put us behind. So unfortunately, we kept going back and back. We haven't got a break since then.
Well, looks like drivers losing their rhythm and the team just can't catch a break. Chances of three-peating here this weekend, pretty slim for Alex Job.
They do look slim indeed, Martin, that they're continuing to run around here, but the lap times they're running right now are slower than the Wallach car, so I don't think it's going to take place either.
Now, you're looking at the third place car. This is Jörg Muller in the BMW, running in third on the podium for the moment. At Texas, when they finished fourth with this car, it was the first time in any American Le Mans Series race that they've entered that the car failed to place a podium finish.
Isn't that remarkable? It's just progress in this type of racing. I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that this was the dominant car. This was the best of the best, and the team was the best.
But here's the problem they got right now, though, Bill, is that they may not finish on the podium today either. The Audi of Frank Biela is running 2 seconds a lap faster than Muller is. There are 11 minutes to go in the race. And we'll check the interval between the two, 19 seconds.
Shades of Mosport, only it's reversed.
Yep.
Back there, remember that the BMW hauling in the Audi just hand over fist. It had dry tires on as the track was drying, and the Audi was still out there on the wet tires.
So we'll keep an eye on the interval between Muller and Biela there and see if the Audi driver is able to get up and shut BMW out of a podium for a second straight race.
Well, I'm absolutely sure that Reinhold Jost would have radioed his driver and said, pull all the stops out, run max fuel, max boost, do whatever you can to try and get both of the Audis on the podium. It's very prestigious.
Looking at the overall standings in the data box in the upper left of your screen. And watching, there's Biela right there in the 78 Audi, car that led in the early part of the race. Had a hiccup with a caution flag, made a green flag pit stop, full course yellow came out, put them way back. Their teammate McNish lapped them, and they've been playing catch up ever since. And again, right now running in the fourth position, trying to catch Jörg Muller for third in the final laps. On the topic of BMW, the man who started that car, the third place machine, is on pit road with Steve Evans.
Well, JJ Leto is hoping that Jörg can hang on to that third place spot, get back up on the podium, and hang on to your driver's points.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important to be on the front, and, you know, Audi is too quick at the moment. We can't do anything about it, but, you know, they seem to be making mistakes once in a while, and we have been just running very trouble-free race, you know, so it's running third. Hopefully we will finish third, you know, and, you know, between the first and third place, there's not so much, you know, points difference, so we are still leading the championship, no problems.
And he'd sure like to win it over Alan McNish.
8 minutes to go in the Rose City Grand Prix. There's Frank Biela trying to catch Jörg Muller, Leto's teammate, see if he can steal the final podium position away. Back to Portland in just a minute. 6 minutes to go in the Rose City Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series. Looking at the GT class leader, Bob Wallach, a veteran from Strasbourg, France, behind the wheel of the Dick Barber Racing Porsche. As the leader, Alan McNish, and the Audi goes by him there.
And if Wallach continues on, which it looks like, he is so experienced, he doesn't put a wheel wrong very often. This will be his third win of the year. So good job for Wallach.
Been a pretty solid season so far. Got wins at Charlotte and at Silverstone. Had a win in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Lost it. Post-race technical inspection. A little miscommunication among interpretation of the rules on, I believe it was the fuel tank capacity.
That's right.
For the car. Let's go to Martin Haven, who's down in the Dick Barber Racing pit. Martin?
Well, I am down in the Dick Barber Racing pit, and that's nothing new because I walk past them all the time. But what is new is that their fuel man is standing on the pit wall. He leads GT by a lap, but he needs a splash and dash to make it this final 7 minutes in the race. Whether that puts his win in question or not, I think is probably down to the driver in the end.
Wow. Well, you know, what a perfect guy to have in the car. Bob Wallach is not going to get rattled if he has to come in and get that splash of fuel.
And, you know, you got a lap lead, so there's no use risking it. Just come on in, get the fuel. You can get the fuel, get back onto the racetrack, and still have almost a full lap lead, and it's no big deal.
Of course, here we go again. There's no such thing as any guarantee that when he shuts that car off, it's going to restart.
Some of the faster prototype cars, the Cadillac there. Wayne Taylor aboard and the Olive Garden machine. Mimo Scattarella now back on board that Lola. Trying to make the move on the caddy there. This is a race for position. This is 7th and 8th spots here.
Yeah. And these guys, both of them, I mean, both teams have just had outstanding races today. They have not benefited at all from pit stops at the wrong or the right times. But, gee, they've done a fine job. Twin-turbo V8 North Star up ahead in that Cadillac, and the Olive Garden car, remember, is a V10 Judd. And he got it.
Down to the inside as they come to the festival curves. Hard on the brake. Look at him work that steering wheel right side of your screen.
Oh, did he ever. That was a great shot there.
Mimo Scattarella, the Italian driver, gets the 7th spot away from Wayne Taylor as the Raffinelli Lola jumps up a position over the Cadillac.
These drivers do work so hard at this car, and speaking to them both the other night, lucky enough to have a dinner with them, and they were both saying how much this car flexes. And like any race car in the world, you want a car to be as solid as possible. So the suspension setup, which is set under ideal conditions when the car is standing still, so they stay the same. Here's another look at the pass. Now watch as the Olive Garden car, the green one, goes down
Taylor
the inside.
Moved to block too.
And just, he gets in as deep as he possibly could. Really a nice job.
Still hard on the brakes there.
Yeah.
So Scattarella moves up into the 7th position.
And now right ahead.
Taylor back to 8th.
Here's the Panos right ahead as well.
That is the Hiroki Kato car. There are a lap difference between the two, though. So this is, even though it's 6th and 7th, it's not going to be a pass for position here because there's a lap differential between the two.
Nah, just pass for ego and pass for bragging rights. And you just want to say, yeah, I could get by you too.
And maybe maybe some sparks and excitement in the final laps there. I don't think Kato saw him coming.
This is good.
Just moved right over on him there.
Mimo is one of these drivers that has this perpetual smile. He enjoys this. Typical Italian, like very flamboyant and the hands up in the air, and he's a young, good-looking guy.
When I first met him around these American Le Mans Series races a year ago, I said, so what do you do away from the racetrack? What do you do to have fun? He said, I just race. That's all I do to have fun. I race.
Whenever he's not racing, he has no fun at all.
Yeah.
I bet that. Right to the edge of the track. Now this may give him a good run. Oh! Whoa. Wow, talk about a good run.
I think Kato just moved over.
Oh,
he said go on.
He got my heart going.
He must have, because look how far they've left him already. Kato just pulled over and let him go. I don't think the Panos is low on fuel.
Wow.
Shouldn't be anyway. So the 6th position there for Kato, and Scattarella and Taylor go on by. White flag next time by for the leader, Alan McNish in the Audi R8. Speed Vision's coverage of the Rose City Grand Prix continues in just a moment. Don't go away. There he is, the Scotsman, trying to come around, get the white flag, and steam through his final lap here in Portland. There's the GT leader in for the splash as the white flag is set to come out. Martin?
Yes, guys, 1 lap to go, and 1 lap too little fuel for Bob Wallach. Away he goes. I'm not even sure the stopwatch got running during that fuel stop.
Then they're going to get a gallon or two in. So you need to come off the pit lane and make the final circuit around. Here comes the leader, McNish. Down to the start-finish line. White flag is out. Final lap of the Rose City Grand Prix.
And see how calmly Alan just reached up, acknowledged the flag, and now he's continuing the track. This is always one of the nicest times when you're just on your final lap. There is nobody challenging you. You can just savor the moment. One of the few times when you can actually do it. That normally you have to keep such a high level of concentration with such great intensity. You can't think about how enjoyable it is. But right now for Alan, he's being very cautious. He knows he has a huge lead, and he is enjoying this moment. Another one of many.
McNish, the Scotland. Scored a win in 2 of the last 3 races. He lapped the field at Sears Point. They got the win barely in that oh-so-close finish at Mosport in the rain. Then the radio communication mess-up forced them to finish second to their team car in Texas 1 week ago. Now they've come out, overcome early race troubles, lap 7 troubles, to come all the way back up to the front of the pack and in position to score the victory and close further on the BMW drivers in the chase for the American Le Mans Series Championship. Final corner. Here he comes, McNish, off turn number 9, down to the start-finish line. He moves toward the pit wall to salute his crew as they wave the Audi flags and drop a couple on the racetrack.
I think that they're throwing paper at him. It's like both hands in the air.
Checkered flag and the Rose City Grand Prix to Alan McNish and his teammate Dendo Capello. Now let's go back to the GTS class, the 91 car. There with Olivier Beretta back on board will score the victory as they come off the corner. After losing out to the Vets 1 week ago, the Vets didn't show up here at Portland, and Viper rolls to a victory as you see the 2 cars there in the photo formation across the start-finish line. So Beretta and Wendlinger score the victory for them. That would be their 6th win in 8 tries this season for that driving duo. And to the GT class winner, we saw him on the pit lane just a minute ago. Bob Wallach in the Dick Barber Racing Porsche. There he is, making his final circuit around. In through turns 3, 4, and 5. He'll head off onto the backstretch in a minute and make the final spin around this Portland International Raceway course.
And one of the important things about this particular victory is I believe this now puts Maassen up into the lead for the GT Championship. He will pass Dirk Mueller.
Overcoming their teammate, right, Dirk Mueller, who had the point lead coming in. You know, I think he's actually taken the checkered flag by virtue of making that pit stop. I believe Wallach has already actually gotten the checkers, so he's actually on his cool-down lap, but there he is nonetheless, scoring the victory for the 3rd time this season, following up on their wins at Charlotte and Silverstone earlier. By the way, that is the 11th straight GT class victory for Porsche. Wow. In American Le Mans Series competition, a streak that began 1 year ago.
Alan, you lost your flag. I think that's the only thing that's gone wrong for the Audi team this year is the flag fell apart.
You can let the stick go now, Alan.
I wonder if BMW built the flag.
No, that is nasty. There are the team drivers who scored the victory. Dendo Capello, the Italian, and Alan McNish, the Scotsman, coming into the winner's circle. Getting instructions there from the officials on where to park the car. Pretty dominating performance. Once they recovered from the early spin, they have dominated, pulled away, end up winning over the Jan Magnus and David Brabham Panos by 57.456 seconds. That's almost a full lap around the Portland course.
Little burnout into the staging area there, and Capello was able to hang on. What a great victory for them both.
3rd win in the last 4 races. McNish only 13 points behind Jörg Muller for the Drivers' Championship coming in. Has gained a lot of ground toward winning the American Le Mans Series title in 2000. Let's get out of the winner's circle. Here's Steve Evans.
Well, Alan McNish, unbelievable. The finest driver, the finest car, and the best organization prevailed today at Portland. What a performance. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was very, very good. Dindo made a superb start. Unfortunately got caught with a GT3 car, but that's sometimes the way it goes. But the team did a really, really good job in the pits to get us back into the lead lap. Also, I would have to say Michelin were very, very good today because we ran nearly 2.5 hours on one set of tyres, and that really gave us the opportunities to get into the lead and to pull away.
How skittish was this car in the final laps?
Well, with a 55-second lead, it wasn't that skittish, but to get the lead was quite difficult. We had to push very, very hard, but the car did run very, very well, and I had no real complaints.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The man from Dumfries, Scotland, has done it again, guys.
And let's take a look at the rundown from today's Rose City Grand Prix, presented by Decision Point Applications. The podium, well, BMW gets back onto the podium with Jörg Muller and J.J. Leto getting the 3rd place position. And looking down, Bila and Piro not able to catch Muller and Leto for that podium spot. Good run for the Reynard, 5th place there for Smith and Johansson. And the Cadillac with an 8th place run. Overall, GTS winner finishing in 10th place, GT winner finishing in the 11th place overall. And there's the rest of the final scoring results from today's Rose City Grand Prix. We'll come back in a moment to wrap up our coverage of the Rose City Grand Prix in just a moment. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Portland is brought to you by Audi.
Back in Portland, where the Rose City Grand Prix has been won by the Audi team of Alan McNish and Dindo Capello. Let's hear from the class winners, GTS and GT. First to Martin Haven.
With Olivier Beretta taking on some fluids. Olivier, not as hot as Texas, but a tough race for the Vipers.
Yes, it was difficult because the traffic was amazing this weekend, especially because the prototypes are very fast, but there is not so many grip on the track. And of course we have a race to do also. So it was difficult, but especially after Texas, where it was very hot. That was good because today was cold, so everything went well. And now we are waiting for the next one, where it will be a very nice race, I hope.
Well, you're talking about Petit Le Mans, 10-hour race. That's going to be tough. You'll be back up against the Corvettes with the bad luck you've had this weekend. It would have been a tough race to win against the Vet. Do you think you'll do it in a long race at Atlanta?
We go in Atlanta to try to win, but of course they are very strong. They are a very good driver, very good car, and this is good for everyone. But we will try the best as we can to win, and hopefully to have no problem through the race, because it will be a long race, like a mini 24 hours. So it will be difficult for everyone. But I'm quite confident, and now we have 10 days where we can stay home, so that is good to recharge the battery.
Small holiday. Olivier and I will be racing each other back to Paris on the airplane this evening. Steve Evans is with Bob Wallach, the GT class winner.
He is indeed the class winner, and this was a race of survival more than anything else.
Well, that's kind of long distance racing, you have to survive. But even in sprint races, you actually win the race when the checkered flag comes, and a lot of people think they're going to win the race around the first corner. That's not the case.
Sasha Monson, we can swing over here. I think if we do the math right, this puts you on top of the GT point standings.
Yeah, we calculate the same, and I really have to thank my team, Dick Barber Racing. They made an awesome job. We overtook the leading car in the pits. The pit stop was perfect, and then Bob got in the car, and I think he even made fuel because he didn't use any. So we could make through the end, and just a little splash at the end. Incredible job.
It was indeed. Guys, a great race.
GT class winners, Bob Wallach, Sasha Mawson, and indeed Sasha takes the lead in the GT championship standings. So we came into the race talking about mistakes and pit strategy, possibly deciding things. We saw plenty of mistakes by the Audi team that eventually overcame them, came back and won the race.
And that is the mark of class, I think, with any team, whether it's a football team or a racing team. It's whoever can overcome adversity. Well, you're all the technicians and mechanics and drivers. They did a perfect job.
And so for Alan McNish, the victory bringing him closer to taking the lead in the American Le Mans Series championship standings as the circuit heads off to the 10-hour, 1,000-mile Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta a little bit later on this month. For Bill Adam, Martin Haven, and Steve Evans, I'm Alan Bestwick saying so long from Portland International Raceway and the Decision Point Applications Rose City Grand Prix. A wild race at times with the Audi R8 that started on pole, Dindo Capello and Alan McNish winding up in victory lane. Thanks for joining us. You've been watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision.